Hello friends and welcome to another episode of Booked, a place to explore the realms of creativity. Today's guest is A.L. Davidson. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited that you're here. Honestly, I feel like we organised this a million years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's finally here. And I'm like, where did that time go? I looked at my calendar yesterday and I was like, it's tomorrow. I was really surprised at myself that the time was nigh. But I kind of vaguely remembered it because I was like, it's in spooky month. Because having read The Scientist, the Spaceman, and the Stars Between Them, I was like, spooky book, spooky month. That's when I'm going to be interviewing A.L. Davidson. So yeah, I'm really excited to discuss your work and your process and your experience because you have a huge back catalogue of stuff. I am so impressed, and all of your covers are gorgeous, and like your website's really cool, and you're a great writer, and I'm just like, oh, this is amazing. So I would love to start talking about this particular book that I've read. I'm going to put it really close so that people can see this stunning cover. Who designed the cover?
It was Don Noble who did it. Yeah. And he's done a ton of the covers for that publisher, and specifically, and he's just phenomenal. I literally sent the most janky looking Canva thing of like, here's some elements and kind of vibes that I want. And he came back with 11 different versions of that with different colors to where like the astronaut was all in black and white or everything wasn't just stark white against the pink background. So I had a really hard time narrowing it down to that specific version of the cover. So
I think you made a good choice. It's fantastic. And it's the reason why I picked this one, because I was like, pink, I love monochromatic styling where like everything is in the same. If you don't know what that means, people listening, when everything's basically the same color, just different shades, and it looks real cool. That's how I try and dress as well. I'm like, I will wear all green, or even down to my shoes and my socks, because I'm like, that makes me feel nice. So as soon as I saw this cover, when I was looking at the entries for the Small Spec Book Awards, I knew it business then. I was like, I need to read that. I didn't even read the blurb. I just bought it, and I was like, that's going to be the book I read. And I loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
My favorite part was when we were doing the ARC release for it. We did it on Book Sirens, and Book Sirens is great. They do like the big banner of like, here's all the new releases we have this week. And when people would reshare it on Instagram, that cover was so pink that Instagram would automatically pull the pink as the default background color for everybody's post. And I'm like, that's obnoxious. And that's what I said. I said I want an obnoxious pink cover for this horror book, and we got it.
It's perfect. I love it when something is so unassuming and you're like, oh, it's going to be like, oh, super lovely. And I was reading it, and I'm going to try not to spoil it because half of the joy, in my opinion, of reading a book is like the surprise in it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so there's a lot of emotion going on in this first section. And then what the hell is that? What's going on? Oh my God, what the fuck? And it got like escalated quite significantly. And I was like, this cheeky pink book.
I was getting like when I started to like query it and was sending it to Timber Ghost, I was getting like live tweet DMs from them as they were getting things in, and it was just like, what the fuck? What's wrong with you? What is going at like 3 a.m? And I was like, oh, they like it. That's good.
That is fantastic. That was like, yes, I totally agree. But I love things like that. I don't want to be told what I'm gonna get from a book.
Yeah.
I like to discover that by myself, and I think, I don't know, I said this just before we started recording. It gives me Alien vibes. It was very atmospheric. You've got loads of representation in there. I loved the characters, like they all really, really gave a shit about each other, apart from the ones we don't like. And that was just such a nice thing. There's another author, J.D. Sanderson, who does a similar thing where you think about like space stuff. I mean, obviously some horrific things happen in this book. When you think about space stuff, usually it's like, oh, everyone's miserable and everything's terrible. And it's nice to have characters in those situations that actually are quite nice and like relatable and kind and thoughtful. And it's like, it's nice to think that potentially there's a future that features kindness and love and acceptance and, very much unlike how things are going at the moment. So I was like, this is refreshing.
Well, and I grew up as a hardcore Trekkie. Like, my first email was Star Trek's Mr. Spock. Like, I am a huge Trekkie. And so that carries over to a lot of my stuff with the found family and the people actually caring about each other and knowing things and sitting down and having conversations. And I have been told by multiple different people that for some reason my horror feels incredibly cozy, like a warm hug. And it's like, it's because I make the people and the relationships the foundation of it. And so it's very much that yeah, because I love Alien, and so it's like there's a lot of Alien vibes in this, but I also want it to feel like Star Trekky, where you have the characters who like actually know each other. And I don't do well with the like, we're gonna throw you into these people who are just now falling in love and just now meeting each other. It's like, I want them to have like gone through so much hell 10 years before leading up to this. So it feels more authentic, and it's just, some people don't vibe with that, but that's what I enjoy doing. And I like having those kinds of tight-knit groups of characters that all like to trash talk the people that they don't like together.
Do you like reading that style of story as well, or is it largely what you like to write?
Yeah, I enjoy reading it. I enjoy, that's like the kind of TV stuff that I enjoy. Like, I also enjoy those kinds of video games where you have like big party. Like, I grew up playing JRPGs, so like big Final Fantasy where you have 7 people in your crew kind of thing is always something that I really enjoyed, is the community tight-knit party who's going to go conquer the world together kind of vibes are really something that I enjoy.
That's cool. Yeah, it's definitely something that you have as quite a large important part of this particular story, and it really makes the stakes a lot higher when things aren't going so well as well, because you're like, oh no, they really are actually having a terrible time because this person is not having a good time. And it's very emotional, actually. I got a lot of very strong feelings as I was reading it that I didn't expect, and I was like, what are you doing to me? I probably read it in like 3 nights, but largely because I was like trying to process what was going on, trying to predict what was going to happen. And I really had some assumptions, and I was totally fucking wrong, like most of the time. So that was really nice. I like not having a predictable plot, so that was good. Also, the twist that I will confirm after this recording, so I'm not going to spoil it. I was like, oh my god, that's really awful. Yeah, so if that doesn't sell it for you, you should go read it. Oh goodness. But yeah, so you have a large back catalogue of stuff. So could you give the listeners, watchers, lurkers, creeps, whatever, could you give them an overview of what sorts of things you write? Because we kind of focused on this one thing. I know that you have more of a broader spectrum.
Yeah, so all of my marketing and my banners say I write cozy sci-fi and urban fantasy. I write heartwarming and horrifying horror romances and tiny disturbances, which I don't do as much anymore because my projects are getting bigger, but I do love writing like short, contained, tiny horror stories that are just like straight, how much awful can I put into a 10-page piece of work? But it's all very genre romance type of thing. It's either the kind of the cozy and the sci-fi or the paranormal romance. I dabble in a little bit of monster romance, and then I have my like hardcore horror romance where it's like cannibalism is the main theme, and that's the romantic side of things, is the cannibalism. So as my readers say, cannibalism is foreplay. It's like, okay, we're gonna go with that marketing. It's like, that's what gets you guys going, sure.
Do you know what? If that's how you find your readers, more power to you.
And I really do have the best. Like, they have come up with so many insane nicknames for some of these characters that just stick, and in the small community become such a big thing. Like in my cannibalism romance, one of them started calling the husband Chef Daddy Ed, and because he's the one who's like cooking everything, and that has stuck so much that in the special edition that we're doing, there's a art print that has him in a little pin-up style with an apron that says Chef Daddy Ed, and that's not a me thing, that's something that my readers came up with. And like, there's a character that has literally 2 lines at the end of another book, and they're like, oh, I love this strange little man, and now he's just called Strange Little Man and everything whenever we talk about him. So they really do Like, they're a small group of people, but they show up strong and they're loud and they're funny, which I appreciate.
That's so nice. So do you, I mean, it sounds like you have a lot of interaction with your readers.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have like, is it like a Discordy thing? Is it just the feedback that you get through social media? Have you got like a little commune full of awesome people?
A lot of it comes from, because I do a lot of web novels, and I have Patreon and things like that where I have the comments open, and so a lot of them will send me DMs where they'll leave comments on things, and that's one of the things I was telling a couple of them, is that I never want to get big enough to where you feel uncomfortable sending me memes that remind you of my books. And so that's the thing. I'll just wake up someday and I'll just get like, oh, I saw this reel of this guy who reminds me of this character from your book, and I laughed and I thought you'd enjoy seeing it. So it's a lot of just kind of a mix of people. Like, I call my people on Patreon my cosmonauts, because we call it the Lonely Planet. So I've got my cosmonauts and I've got my readers who are just like, yeah, I'm going to send you a billion DMs because this thing reminded me of your book. And it's great because I get the instant feedback from a lot of things if I'm like writing chapter to chapter, and it's building that community and the readership of, because I write really weird niche things. My stuff is not normal, and so it's not meant for everybody. And so it's when I find the people who are really into it, that really means a lot of, like, I'd rather have the 5 people who are really into it than 100 people who just found it on KU because the cover was pretty, because my covers are all very pretty, but it's when you open it up, it may not be the thing that you're expecting to get. I was like, I don't want you to be mad at me because I write like an A24 director that doesn't play by the rules of anything.
So you said that your work is kind of niche. Do you find that makes it easier or more difficult for you to query with small presses? Because I know that you've largely published through indie presses, right?
Most of everything that I've done has actually been self-published. And so the only ones that I currently have out that are through a press actually is Scientist, Spaceman, and The Stars Between is the only one that is through a press. Amazing. I have my first web novel that I ever wrote did get picked up by a press. We're kind of like doing a second print release of that. But other than that, it's all been me.
Wow, you've done an incredible job. Like, all your stuff looks really good. Like, it's so well presented. It's fantastic because you do get a varying quality when you look at self-published stuff, because there's a huge amount of money that needs to be spent usually to make it really, really, really good, or a hell of a lot of time, or both. So have you gone through the process of querying the other ones, or did you just straight away decide like, oh, I'm just going to self-publish this?
It kind of depends on the book. I did notice that because when I was starting my querying journey and starting to do all the publishing and stuff like that, the books that I had written were very much in that horror romance kind of subgenre, and it was years before horror romance became a popular thing and nobody wanted it. Like, my first novella ever was an eco horror erotica about a lumberjack and a dryad, and it's very dark and it's very weird and has a lot of just like those sorts of niche things, and every publisher was just like, this is never gonna sell, this is too weird, this is too niche. And it was one of those that I'm like, in the amount of time that I had been querying, I managed to do so much on my own, and I ended up signing, I think, 3 publishing contracts. One of them ended up having the publisher close before we were able to start. And then the other one was for like a short story type of thing, but I was doing more on my own, and the querying process was just so stressful and I didn't get informed that January was agent clean out month. And so I ended up, in the span of, I think it was like a week and a half, ended up getting 6 major rejections, and one of them had my book for 13 months. Yeah, and it caused so much anxiety that I ended up in the ER because I was so stressed. And I'm like, what's the point of doing this when if I can do it myself and I'm not going to be stressed out and I'm going to enjoy the process? That's the thing, is I like talking to my artists and knowing who my editors are. And as much as I hate the formatting process, I've kind of got it down to an art now. And, I've got, of the 13 books that I've got out, only one of them is through a small press, and I did, and I'm only 2 years into this, and so it's kind of one of those. I'm like, well, if I can just do it myself, then I might as well do it myself. It's the joys of hyperfixation and ADHD and zero lack of object permanence.
It's got to come in handy for something.
It does. Well, and that's the thing I was telling to a couple of people is like, I can sit down and forget everything is happening for like 6 hours and then just write and get stuff done. And it doesn't really cause any, issues or distraction for me because I'm just like, oh, I'm just in the zone. And so if I need to sit down and be like, I wrote one of my novellas in 5 days because I had a week free. But I was like, I did nothing else. I didn't eat for 3 of those 5 days because I was just like, I gotta get this done. But it's the querying thing and doing traditional publishing and the waiting. That's the other thing is I don't like the waiting. It's like I can have this out now.
Well, this is it, and it's such an accessible thing now to self-publish. It's not like you have to, like, all of the information's out there. If you wanted to do it, you could technically do it for free. Technically, apart from the ISBN. Although if you went through Amazon, that's included. So it's it's a thing that like 10 years ago would have been an incredible struggle, and now you just have to basically do a bit of research. It's a lot more work than that. I'm not pretending like it's not a ton of work, but you could, like, pretty much anybody could do it. And it takes a lot of commitment to do what you're doing, because from what I've seen from you not only have written a huge amount of stuff for people to read, you also have your Patreon, you also go to a lot of in-person events, and you're very active on social media in terms of like showing everybody what you're doing. How do you keep that up? Is it just because you really love doing it, or like what drives you?
Yeah, it is partially that I really love doing it. Like, that's something that I knew, like, when I was 10, that, like, this is what I want to do. This is the thing that's going to happen. And then I had to become an adult, and I had no time. And then COVID happened, and I had all the time in the world, and I kind of got back into it. And it just has kind of worked itself out to the point that I'm, like, able to make it happen. I don't make the money to support myself for, but I am technically a full-time author. I spend like 35 hours a week writing and formatting and creating my marketing. And thankfully I don't do TikTok anymore. That took up so much time. I was having to carve out 5 hours every weekend to record a week's worth of TikToks and outfit changes and makeup. And I'm just like, but then nobody's using TikTok anymore. So I'm like, cool, I don't have to do that anymore. Yay. Which is great. But yeah, it's just I just really love what I do. It's just part of my routine now as I get home when I'm done for whatever I'm doing the day, and I play my nightly Animal Crossing chores, and I sit down and I just write. And that's my other, like, can you tell I'm severely ADHD, is that I have not missed a single day of Animal Crossing since the game came out in March of 2020. I have a nearly 2,000 day unbroken streak of playing it every single day. So like, once I commit to something, I commit pretty hard, and it's not boring yet. So I figure I might as well just keep doing it while I can.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's something to be said for, can't remember what the phrase is, but like, if you love what you do, then you'll never work a day in your life. And it's partly true, because like some days are going to be frustrating, and some days you're going to be like, oh my god, why did I do this? Even if you really, really love the thing. But I mean, just hearing the way that you talk about what you do, like, obviously you really friggin' love doing it, and it's really nice to see. It doesn't sound like it's a chore for you. It's like, I get to do this thing, and that's really cool. Back to the in-person stuff that I mentioned. So you do a lot of in-person events, from what I could tell on your social calendar on your website. What I've got a few questions. I'm going to start with one at a time, because I know what I'm like. I'll ask you 5, and then you'll be like, what did you ask me? First one is, why do you do so many of them?
So the biggest thing is, when I was starting out and trying to figure out what I wanted to do with self-publishing and indie publishing and things like that, is my biggest thing was I didn't want to have to deal with Amazon. It sounded like a nightmare. I didn't like how restrictive it was. I didn't like the fact that if I sold an ebook copy of my book, I would get like 19 cents. It sounded stupid.
Yeah.
I'm putting so much work and time into this. And so I went the Kickstarter route to do my debut. It worked out really well for being a no name anybody who hadn't published anything at the time. I think I've sold almost 400 copies of it, which is insane for a self-published debut novella that isn't a queer eco horror romance entirely set in RV. Like, it's
super niche.
Yeah, it is. But when I was like trying to figure out options for what I could do, I was like, well, my social media following isn't super big at this point. I need to figure out ways to get this into the hands of readers. And it just so happened that we had a local event here that was being held the same day as my debut released.
Oh.
And so I was like, well, the booth fee was like $40. I was like, well, figure we'll give it a try, see what happens. And I almost sold out. And now it's at the point that the majority of my sales come from those big in-person events.
Wow.
I had our big Comic-Con back in March. I think I brought 150 books, and over the span of the weekend, I left with, I think I had 17 left across all of my titles. And so it's one of those that it's a nice way to get the books into the hands of readers, promote and market yourself. I make a ton of money. And it's just fun because I get to meet other authors while I'm doing it, and other people hang out. Like, I have a bunch of the people that I like collaborate with to do like fun soaps and stuff I've met at events. So it's just kind of a fun little extra way to help expand my readership, because my readership is basically who sees my social media, who my readers tell about, and then the in-person events are kind of my avenues for it. And it's been working pretty well. It's always a pain to do beforehand, because I'm like, how am I going to carry all of these books across 13 titles into this convention center up a hill? Because it's not fun.
Maybe you need to get a golf cart or something.
Yeah, I'm sure I have a wagon, but it's also like, then it's 175 pounds for the stuff I have to carry up a hill in a wagon. So I was like, I'm gonna try to find somebody who can drop me off next time.
It's probably a good idea. So you've been doing this for a while now. In terms of we're still staying on track. I'm not very good at doing that. I'm going to try and stay on track with the same subject. So in terms of doing these events, so from the first time that you ever attended an in-person event to now, what have you done differently? And are there any pieces of advice that you can give to any sort of writers out there who might be considering doing an in-person event?
Yeah. Honestly, it's biggest thing is to make sure you do your research about said event, because a lot of people, especially now with like book talk and things blowing up so much, we have 3 different fantasy balls where I am at every year now, which is insane. And so like the market is very oversaturated, and it's one of those things like people are just gonna be like, oh, I think I want to host a book event and host this and host that, and the booth fee is like $20 and you spend $500 on marketing and all of your stuff to not really make anything. So it's worth asking and talking to people. But it's also, one of those things of like, oh, I may not sell anything, but I've given away all 100 of my business cards. And those people do come back afterward. It's definitely all about the marketing. Like, things changed significantly when I like decked my booth out. I got a nice balloon arch to like hang flowers and sparkly dangly things from, and a nice banner. And I put the Night Farm books, because that's my biggest series. I have a big wooden suitcase, so it looks like they're tucked up in the suitcase. And so it's just kind of like making things eye-catching and spending the extra like $25 to like buy like business cards that look really nice. And I've discovered bookmarks do really well as business cards, because people tend to lose business cards, but they always need a bookmark.
Yeah.
So it's just little things like that of like going on and finding an inexpensive artist on social media to like commission a little drawing of you to put on all of your stuff, and just having fun with it. I think they're so fun. Half of my back wall in my apartment is just my event stuff. It's just tubs of my books and carts. I have wagons and dollies and banners and things like that, because I just love doing them so much. And it's just, they're just fun. It's a good time. You just have to, make sure that you're hydrated and have snacks and have cash and all the things that you don't really think about. And also know that the first couple ones, you probably will not make your booth fee back. because you're new and no one knows who you are. But the more that you stick with it, like I have people who are now coming up on like multiple events that I do in this city. Like we have a big comic convention that also has an anime sub convention as well. And I now have people that message me months in advance before they buy their tickets to the conventions to make sure that I'm going to be there so they can come and pick up their books.
That's
and
cool.
Last year I did make my booth fee back at that same event. So it's one of those things that the more that you're there and the more that you're engaged with it, you know, the better it is.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like consistency is going to be key, especially if you're trying to build up that physical following. Have you I'm trying to word this as best as I can. Have you like approached smaller bookstores? Like are you in partnerships with any of them? Like are there any physical locations where people can actually pick up your work?
One of the things that I have discovered with the route that I've done, because I don't do Amazon and I don't do Ingram, I do all my own distribution because, again, I don't want to pay Ingram to delay my books and have them show up bad quality. And that's the other thing with Ingram is that, like, I've had friends who are like, oh, they've sent their stuff to a bookstore and it didn't sell, so they sent it back. The books got destroyed, and then my author friends have to pay $150 in fees. And I'm like, I was like, I don't really want to do that. I was like, I spend too much time on my stuff to be dealing with that sort of stuff. But because I don't use a distributor like that, most indie bookstores don't want to take my stuff unless it's a consignment-based thing because they can't order and can't return that way. But I do have some really nice ones. I had one that was up in Washington that like had all of my stuff for a long time before they decided to do a little mobile truck type of thing. And we have one that's one of the events, like the local events here that I go to frequently has a bookstore now that also does it, so I have a little like display set up, and
that's nice.
Yeah, it's fun, it's cute.
Cool. Awesome. I mean, you of all the people that I've interviewed, I think 50 authors or so, I think you are the only person that I've met so far that is doing it the way that you're doing it. I'm finding this incredibly fascinating because you remind me of what my brain is doing, where I'm like, I don't want to deal with the big companies because they keep like their quality's poor and their communication's terrible, and like I'm not seeing people benefiting from using those sites largely.
Yeah.
They only really have things to complain about. Whenever I've ordered books through Amazon, they've always been a terrible quality. I've never had a good quality book from them. And like being able to, I mean, like doing your events and having your website, and so, you know, doing your own distribution and things like that, you have ultimate control over what is happening with your work. And it's going very well for you. So I'm like, what the fuck do we even need these? Sorry for swearing. I didn't ask you if that was okay beforehand. What the hell are we doing? Like these things are fantastic tools, but people are putting in a ton of effort and still using these tools, but not doing very well because they're kind of relying on them, this oversaturated market. Like if you think there are well over 1 million authors on Amazon, how on earth are you supposed to get your name out there?
Exactly.
It's crazy. So it's really, really refreshing and really optimistic for me, looking forward into the future, to see someone like yourself doing very well, doing it the way that I think looks the most fun and the most engaging, and like it's very personalized and you're doing it the way that you want to do it, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's worked. It's one of those things too that I like look at some of my friends who are, you know, just starting out and they put their stuff on Amazon and it's a fun book, but it's also not as super niche as mine, and so they get, you know, 500,000 page reads in their first week, and then it's like, oh, here, have an audiobook deal out of the gate and have an agent out of the gate. And so it's kind of like hard to like watch somebody who's like only had their book out for a month and a half open up a Patreon, and the Patreon doubles what I've make a month in the span of me, and I've been out doing it for 3 years. But it's also one of those things that like again, because I am the way that I am, it's like I would rather my stuff isn't meant for people. 500,000 page reads worth of people are not going to enjoy my botanical horror erotica short story and novella collection, because that doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
But again, it's at the same time, it's like I look at it and like the Night Farm first 2 seasons of that were uploaded for free on Tapas, which is a webcomic and web novel platform. It was a finalist for favorite community novel of last year, and my Kickstarter that I had that just finished up doubled what the last Kickstarter made.
That's amazing.
And so it's kind of like one of those things like, man, my people find it where they find it, and I have, you know, I don't have people just like leaving horribly weird reviews because it didn't mesh with what they were thinking the book was going to be. And so like my ratings amounts are small, but they're all really good and really positive, except for, you know, I've had some really funny ones on The Scientist, The Spaceman, and The Stars Between Them that are just kind of sit there going like, huh? Like I was like, what? It's like, I don't understand. My favorite was like, it's like the author couldn't decide if she wanted to write a horror or a romance. I was like, well, maybe I wanted to do both. That's allowed. That's allowed. They're like, the villain felt like a cartoon villain. I was like, yeah, she's supposed to. That's the point.
You should have been like, congratulations, you got the point.
I had one. I loved it. I looked at it the other day and I was like, the only reason that this book is not 5-star rating is because light years was used as the wrong kind of measurement multiple times in the book. And I was like, what?
Oh, that's fantastic.
I was like, I'm sorry. She's like, I don't know if it was meant to be a metaphor, but it wasn't right. I was like, sorry, my bad.
That's so funny. I'd love it when people question realism in fiction, because I'm like, it's supposed to be fiction. Like, it doesn't matter if it's real.
Exactly. Like, I'm sorry that my, you know, zombies that are made of plants that are like hanging out in hallways in deep space don't follow the laws of physics. I'm sorry. Like, I didn't work at NASA. That's not my thing. I don't think they'd want me.
Oh, that's so funny.
Honestly,
reviews really tickle me, because I've read some reviews where I think, why did you keep reading? Like, right. When people leave like a really bad review, and I think you've read 300 pages of this, you could have stopped.
Yeah,
you didn't like it and moved on and read something else. Do you think that reviews for you make a huge difference, or is it because you put in all that legwork to actually find your people that they're just kind of whatever?
Yeah, I think at this point they really don't do much to like help people find my books, because one, I don't ever do ARC releases, and I rarely ever get pre-ordered, so all of my stuff comes like months after like things happen. Like my most popular book, I would say, is probably Lover, Thy Name is Pestilence, which is the cannibalism one, and that book got 4 pre-orders. It got 4 pre-orders. It is now my most beloved book, and it was because it was in an Itch.io sale like 6 months later after it came out. Then it started finally picking up traction. And it's like, so for me, it's one of those that I'm like, my readers will find it when they find it, and that's totally fine. It doesn't matter to me whenever they find it, because that's again the other nice thing about doing it all the way that I do it and doing it myself, is that I don't have to put things out of print if I don't want to, because if I need to order 5 copies of this, I just send it off to my printer and they mail me the copies. So even my books that are now like old can still, you know, be relevant, and I still have them in stock and on hand, and ebooks and things like that. So yeah, I just like, I don't do anything the normal way.
It doesn't sound like you do, but it sounds like it's going pretty well.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's I'm not able to live off of it, but I'm having fun, and it's, you know, it's enough, and yeah, I enjoy what I do. So
hey, as long as the fire's still lit, you got to keep going. Yeah. No, it's fascinating, because I mean, for the most part, indie authors are like, reviews are like currency. You know, we have to have loads of reviews and things like that. But what I'm not saying, and this is something you do, and what I'm not saying is trying to actually connect with actual readers.
Yeah,
there is a lot of like authors talking to authors, like, please buy my book, I'll buy your book if you buy my book.
Yeah,
and then it just kind of just goes around in this like weird septic tank of like people just shouting into the ether and hoping that they're going to build readership, but the way that you have tackled things, you are making those connections, and they're long lasting connections because people have connected with you, and then in turn connected with your writing. I think that's something that a lot of writers could really learn a lesson from, because even if you go down the more like common route of using, you know, all the tools that are available in terms of things like Amazon and Ingram and places like that, there's nothing to stop them from still doing what you're doing in terms of trying to find their people and creating community, because that is like the lifeblood of self-published authors, doing well or trying to find people that are going to want to read the next thing. Because if you plan on releasing another thing, then people aren't just going to find you by accident. You've got to kind of find them and drag them to your booth and be like, hey, this is weird. Do you want to read it?
Yep.
Or, you know, whatever the thing may be. But yeah, I'm definitely seeing an increase in authors trying new things and trying to have like advertising campaigns and things like that. But it really, really does depend on the genre, or, you know, the whatever the reader that you're trying to get to is. Yeah, it's just interesting.
Yeah.
So funny.
Well, and especially it was one of the reasons I'm moving away from horror as my main genre, is that it's indie horror is so very niche, and you have your indie horror darlings, and if you're not in that circle with those people, or if they don't like you for some reason, which is very common because most horror authors do not like each other, and there's a lot of infighting and a lot of drama. It's constantly full of drama. And so it's one of those that because it is very trend focused. And so if you're not in that trend and you're not with the in crowd, no one cares about the fact that you exist. And so I was sitting there, I'm like writing all of these things, and I'm like, yeah, it's just it's good, and it's just a small thing. But then when Night Farm happened, which was a thing that I did because I was bored on a Saturday, and just decided to like throw it out there to the world, which is now my most popular. Like, it's been 2 years and it got 62,000 reads on a webcomic platform. Like, and it just was all just
That's
the word of mouth type
amazing.
of thing. And so it's like kind of like transitioned more towards the like the monster romance and the paranormal romance type of stuff. It's just like everybody over there is just so chill, and I was like, what's going on? I was like, this is weird. I was like, why is nobody? And then I got into the cozy sci-fi, and they're just like, oh, everybody's just like on another, pun intended, on another planet. They're just kind of like, we're just gonna like do our own little thing, whatever. And I was like, these guys are awesome. So it's, especially when you're like, it's hard when you have more niche genres that are then also very tight-knit communities inside of those niche genres. And yeah, it's one of those that I'm just like, my stuff is weird, but it's not the kind of weird that's popular right now. Because like when I was writing horror romance, the number one thing that everyone wanted was like drowning Victorian sapphic romances. They were all like gothic mansions, and it was all sad women, and they were all either in wells or in rivers, or everyone was like, or they were a mermaid. One of them was a mermaid, and so it was, everyone was always very wet. And I'm like, this is not my thing. I was like, I'm obviously writing things in space and in like a cabin in the woods, and I was like, this is not my thing. And so that's like what everybody wanted at the time. So it's kind of like my stuff just kind of like, whatever.
It's hard for me to entertain the desire to write to trend.
Same.
That doesn't appeal to me in any way. And I can see why people do it. Like, do what you want, whatever makes you happy. But I can't box myself in like that. Let me write what makes me feel nice, and other people might like it, and that's cool.
Yeah.
Do you sort of just follow like earworms or brainworms? I don't know how to describe it, but like, do you kind of grab onto an idea and then you're like, I'm going to write this story, or do you plan out stuff in advance? Because I know that you've got a couple of series.
It's none of it's planned. It's all vibes.
Amazing. I love that.
I have that curse of being the author, and also just having the ADHD and just a wealth of just like random knowledge of things. And if I see like a meme post that's like, haha, what about, you know, cowboy witches? And then next thing I know, it's like 5 minutes later, I have an entire thing forming, and it doesn't ever stop, which is why I have like 5 books going at all times. And
Mhm.
it's why I'm going like, oh, here we're gonna do this historical horror religious romance, and then I'm gonna go over here and write a cozy apocalypse set in the year 2085 in my hometown. And oh, here we're going over here, and this is like an angel and a demon who are snowed in together during Christmas. There's just no rhyme or reason to any of it. It's just whatever I feel like at the time. So
I'm a little bit envious of you. It seems like you are just never going to run out of creativity, and that is incredible. That's
no,
very cool.
my chiropractor is so tired of seeing me because I'm so like I was just hunched over like Gollum over my laptop. I saw I have a security camera and I turned it on one night to see what I look like when I'm writing, and I was literally like curled over in a ball, like with my laptop, like in my lab doing this sort of thing. I was like, oh, this is why I've spent $5,000 at the chiropractor this year.
It's so funny.
It's because my posture's gone, my hands are overworked, it doesn't stop.
A novel writing shrimp. That's what you are. It's fantastic. Now, I'm going to ask you a very difficult question. It's okay if you need to take time to answer it. What's the favorite book that you've ever written?
That's so hard.
I know. Take all the time you need.
I do have a very, very big soft spot for Lover. That book is just something special. And the fact that I had to turn 5 indie presses down because their contracts weren't good enough for what I wanted them to do with that book is I was very protective of that book. I had one that wanted to offer me a multi-book deal for it, with as high of a bonus as I wanted, and I still ended up saying no to do it myself.
Wow.
Which honestly I'm glad I did, because they were expecting to publish it this year, and a book about a queer couple with one of them being trans in the deep South Tennessee during an American Civil War with a viral outbreak in 2025 probably would not have done well. So I think
really well. We don't
right.
know.
It would have been either or. So I think it kind of came out at the right time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's probably Lover, and I also have I don't know, The Devil Is Here, which is I'm finishing up at this current point in time, is just so fun. It's just utter nonsense and Bible puns and memes, and I have not had this much fun like working on a book in probably the entire time that I've done it. It's just the characters are they're both idiots, and they both love each other, and they're too dumb to realize that they love each other. And it's just such a fun, genuinely fun book. And so I think that's kind of like my cozy choice, and then my like horror choices between those two. Yeah.
Cool. So are either of those do either of them best represent you as a writer? Like if you had to tell somebody, it doesn't matter what the genre is, if you had to pick one book to show who you are as a writer for someone to read, what would you pick?
I would say either Lover or All for the Blood of the Lamb. Okay. One of those two, because it's very much the my kind of like checklist of things that I always have is, as my readers call them, the big old baby girl husbands. I've got the big grumpy lovable husbands. I've got someone who's chronically ill. It's very gay. There's a very isolated setting. I love putting people in terrifying situations in tiny isolated settings where like the entire thing only takes place in one location, which is a kind of a signature of mine. With like my debut, entire thing was in an RV. Lover, entire thing is in a cabin. Lamb, everything is done in a little ranch in the English countryside. Like it's all very just like isolated, tiny locations, and a big scary A24 monster kind of like lingering somewhere. So it definitely say between those two. And then I love novellas. I think they're so criminally underrated.
I agree,
and especially when you're doing horror, because I don't think horror needs to be Stephen King sized. Like we didn't need 1,000 pages of it. Like that was not necessary.
Someone said it.
I'll say it constantly. I love Stephen King for what he's done for the genre. I have DNF'd every single one of his books that I've picked up. I have not finished a single Stephen King book. Love a lot of the movie adaptations. I even have a shirt that says based on the novel by Stephen King, but I can't get through any of his stuff. But it's like I like having like 150 pages of stuff. It's a nice quick read. Like Lamb takes place over a week, so every chapter is a different day of the week, and then it's done. So you know exactly what you're getting.
That's cool.
So yeah, it's just I like those fun. Actually, I take that back. I just remembered. I don't know why I forget that this book exists because I love it so much. I think my favorite book is He Hears Death.
Okay.
Because I put so much work into that book. It has things that are like falling off of the side of the page, and it has like faded text, the main character's hard of hearing. And so when people are speaking out loud, the text is faded. It's like a light gray, so it's hard for you to read. Like it's hard for him to hear. And it's kind of his like descent into his grief throughout the span of a week. And I put so much effort and time and love into that book. I had to make 126 copies of the ebook to get it to format correctly. Like I love that book. And it's just one of those that like it's so low key that I forget sometimes that it's there because everybody else is like, oh, we're going to talk about Lover and we're going to talk about like how much we love Temple and London because everybody loves Temple and London. Like they're the fan favorite couple of everything. And so I just kind of like forget that the book is there because it's also tarot themed. So now the characters have names. They're cards. And so it's kind of like this amorphous thing that just kind of happened in between all my other big releases. But I definitely think that it's probably hands down my favorite. It's weird and trippy, and it's another one of those niche grief horrors of watching somebody have a 140 page long panic attack is basically what the point of the book is. Well, their dead husband's ghost hangs out in the corner. Like it's a very strange little story, and I definitely think that's probably my favorite book. And then if you want one that's like definitely like here's what my writing style is like when I'm on my A game is either Lamb or Lover. So.
Cool. I think you do have a lot of stuff in different categories that a lot of different type of reader could enjoy. But I would definitely say that having read one of your books, I would probably enjoy pretty much all of them because I like your writing style. And I don't know, the way that you design your characters I just really enjoy. Like they feel really real and like I want to be their friends, so I can see why your readers are like super into it. It's nice.
And they're feral for the most weird people too. I'm like, why is the unwashed mountain man cannibal the one that everybody is thirsting over? Like, why is he the one? Like, I still is like, I don't understand why Ed just became this thing that everybody loves, but it's just they do. And again, I think, and that's because I put a lot of time and care into it. Like, I have the whole thing of like, this is their favorite song and their favorite band and the type of food they like, and even if it's never in the book, I know, and so it helps with it. And again, I like to write their romance where they've already fallen in love, so they feel established. It doesn't have all the weird awkward meet cutes of just like, oh, what are we doing? It's like, no, these characters know each other and know the weird little things that, you know, keep them going and make them happy. And so I think it feels a little bit more authentic than just like, here is generic girl and here is generic man, and they meet at a bookstore because it's raining, and very Hallmarky. Like, I love the Hallmarky stuff. My sister works on Hallmark movies. We're a big Hallmark family. But like, I need them to be like a little bit more real, especially when you're writing in horror, because their focus can't always be on them. It has to be on everything else that's happening that also then helps set the foundation for how they're going to get out of it and how they interact with things, because when you're taking it to terror and anxiety and sadness and everything else that goes into that, if you don't have those well-developed characters that feel real, you're also not going to be scared along with them, which is the point.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And it's incredibly helpful, especially if you have like shorter form stuff, to like have to skip over the filler stuff that I find is in a lot of books that feature especially like romance elements. I usually find those a bit of a struggle to get through because I'm like, oh my God, I don't care about them fancying each other or whatever. But it's nice when you're like, okay, we get it. Like these people are you know, they're an established couple or a group of people, or whoever, you know, whatever style of relationship it is with people, and immediately you can tell by the way that they interact with each other where they stand in their relationship. And I just find that far less patronizing than basically having to give the reader like a long list of all the characteristics of this person.
Yeah.
I much prefer like being drip fed like random little pieces of information, like if they've had a trauma in their past, like, you know, we see a little bit of that, but we don't need a whole like huge explanation about the whole thing. Like, give me a little bit. So I greatly appreciate that. Before we finish this interview, I know that we're in a time warp. So when we were recording this is a little bit of time before the time that it comes out. So this will be coming out in January. I know that you have a couple of releases that will be hopefully coming out by the time this episode comes out. Could you give us just a little bit overview of what they are?
Yeah. Volume 3 of The Night Farm is going to be out, which is the biggest one. That has been an absolute pain to like look at the prices of printing that book. The first one was 250 pages. Book 3 is 378. So book 3 got big, but it's also the autumn season. So like obviously when you're doing a small paranormal town cozy romance type of thing and it's Halloween season, like that's when you're going to want to do all the fun stuff. So it's pretty big. And then volumes 3 and 4 of the spin-off series Nights in New Eden should be out, which is like paranormal romance, but it's holiday centered. So the first one was Christmas, then it's Valentine's, and the third one's going to be Halloween, and the final one is going to be a Christmas and New Year's. And so all of those will be wrapped up. And then The Devil Is Here should be out, so long as I actually focus on it and don't get distracted playing Tetris like I have been lately. But that's kind of going to be my next project after I finish the rest of the formatting for all the Night Farm stuff, is to dive into that one. So it'll be very fun. It's a fun book. It's just, there's just so many puns, and it's like, it's the Prince of Hell and a saint that he hits with his car who hasn't gotten to sainthood yet, and that makes him help him file his taxes because he's going to get audited and lose his sports car if he doesn't. Like that's the whole plot. That's the whole plot of the story. So Lucky is the son of Satan. He is the Prince of Hell. He's out going trying to like do his job, and he accidentally hits Charlie with his car and reaps his soul. And so he's now responsible for Charlie, but Charlie's a priest. And so he's now responsible for this hapless, dumb priest who is supposed to be the patron saint of sad office workers. And then Lucky realizes he's going to be audited, and he has to get all of his paperwork and files done for all of the souls that he's reaped over the last like 200 years. And so he makes Charlie do it, and they like start to fall in love while they're working on this audit. So it's kind of like there's nothing certain in life but death and taxes. So that
is so funny.
It's so funny. And it's like, well, he's like the Seraph's office up in heaven is like trying to like figure out why Charlie is missing, and like Charlie doesn't have a clue why he's dead, and he picks up a stray 2-headed hellhound as a pet that he names Paul and John. It's hysterical, and I am so excited for this book.
That's hilarious.
It's just ridiculous, and it's like these just two idiots hanging out in hell, like getting cough from Chai Charon, and like it's like I have a blast. I'm having a blast with it, and so that will be out hopefully in January.
Fantastic. Bring in the new year with that. That's hilarious. Right? Maybe you should do like a sale in April or something.
I thought about it. I tend to do a lot of sales. My birthday's in May, so I do that, and then I do sales in like, March for Comic-Con and things like that. So I tend to run lots of fun.
I meant like line it up with the tax due date.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so funny. Yes, I'm gonna have to make a mental note of that because that's really funny.
Right? You can have that for free.
Tax day. The tax day sale.
I think that'll work. People are going to be wanting to save money after paying all the taxes. So before I let you leave, could you tell us where we can find you? And I mean like online. I don't need your home address.
So my social medias are all maybe Mockingbird. The only ones that I have, because I decided to do a purge to be a responsible adult, is Blue Sky, TikTok and Instagram, so I'm really easy to find. Most active over on Instagram. My website with all of my links, including my Patreon, which you can get 3 ongoing books for $1 a month. I do
amazing
a lot. They update weekly, so you get like 12 chapters for $1 every month over there. Is all my website is Disturbances by Alicia. It's ALYCIA.weebly.com, and I have everything just kind of in a fancy little like about me section.
Sweet.
I make it easy.
I will put those links in the description of the episode, but I just wanted to thank you for being here today.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you just diving into your process and answering all my stuttery questions and being so awesome. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was fun.